Don't talk to you.
You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
All right, the latest bit of Reefer Madness is coming out of the state of Montana. There's an article up. It's entitled, Pot, More Dangerous Than You Know. And it's written by Pat Prendergast, who is the president of the Butte Cares, which is, I imagine, a rehab, and has 20 years of voluntary work experience in abuse prevention. And I just wanted to run down this because it's kind of a nice template. If you've got any of these Reefer Mad editorials in your newspaper, this will provide you a lot of the ammunition you need to take it down. So Pat begins by saying, there is no scientific basis for using smoked marijuana as medicine. No scientific sound studies supporting the medical use of marijuana for treatment in the United States, and no animal or human data supporting the safety and efficacy of marijuana for general medical use, blah, 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 blah. The Food and Drug Administration ruled that smoked marijuana does not meet the modern standards of medicine in the United States, not approved or endorsed by the FDA, the AMA, the MS Society, the Glaucoma Society, the Ophthalmological Society, the Cancer Society, the Pediatric Society. The National Academy of Sciences Institute of Medicine has concluded that smoked marijuana should not be recommended for medical use. All right, class. Here's the first part you can divulge from all of this. Notice the constant use of smoked marijuana. Always has to be smoked marijuana, because if you start talking about vaporized, using in tinctures, using in edibles, a lot of the harms that those organizations are against go away. The AMA's got a problem with smoking. It's the smoke. It's the ingestion of the burning carbon in your lungs they got a problem with. The cannabis themselves, in the same reports they're referred to the need to move it out of Schedule 1 and to develop more scientific studies on the efficacy of it, because there's clearly medical use. And the FDA argument, oh, no, safe as Vioxx. Yeah, the FDA has said a whole bunch of things are safe that end up killing a whole bunch of people. You ever see those ads on TV, usually late at night, from the law firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, and they're coming out and they're saying, have you been injured by Avandia? Call our law firm, because there's a class action lawsuit because a whole bunch of people got injured by that drug. You cannot say that of marijuana. All right, let's get to point number 2. Marijuana has over 500 components, THC, CBD, etc. I love that. Out of 500, we named 2 that are medical and non-toxic. Thank you. But it has over 500 components. Well, you know, lead has 1 component, and it'll kill you. What difference does it matter how many components it has? It matters whether it's actually harmful. She goes on to say that it's been proven to increase the risk of cancer, lung damage, and poor pregnancy outcomes. Absolutely false. Actually, the Tashkin study, Dr. Donald Tashkin, a pulmonologist at the University of California, Los Angeles, studied this for 30 years, trying to prove that it caused cancer, and had to admit, look, it doesn't cause cancer. Not only does it not cause cancer, pot smokers seem to get less cancer of the lungs. How's that? Amazing. And the poor pregnancy outcomes, excuse me, Willie Nelson has like 7 kids. Tommy Chong's got 7 kids. Willie Nelson's got 9 kids. Bob Marley's got 11 kids. They all turned out just fine. If it was such poor pregnancy outcomes, we wouldn't have Rastafarians anymore. Get real here. All right. What else do we got? Oh, and by the way, this carcinogenic thing, you're going to hear about this. They're going to say, oh, marijuana is carcinogenic. No, the smoke of marijuana is carcinogenic because any burning carbon gives off a carcinogen. The question is it causing cancer? Carcinogens don't necessarily cause cancer when they are counteracted by things like THC and CBD. We don't see cancer rates developing from people that use cannabis alone. Here's a simple analogy. Water contains an explosive gas called hydrogen, and the oxygen all flame needs to burn, but nobody considers water to be flammable or explosive. All right, let's get to these next ones. The use of marijuana under the guise of medicine has led to numerous problems. Affected youth drug use patterns. Wrong. Sorry, just a new study just came out to back up one that was in 2012 and another one from 2004, showing that the states that had legalized the medical use of marijuana had no appreciable change in the youth rates of marijuana or other drug use when you account for factors that include the rising drug use rates of the states that didn't have medical marijuana laws. A direct correlation between medical marijuana and decrease in perception of harm and social disapproval. Gee, what a surprise. When people aren't told that it's going to lead you to heroin and cause man boobs, and then they learn that it's a medicine that helps sick people, they don't think it's as harmful and they don't disapprove of it as much. Gee, what a surprise. All right, let's see. Oh, here's the good one. WOTC. What about the children? Individuals who begin using the drug in their teens have approximately a 1 in 6 chance of developing marijuana dependence. Now, think about that stat for a moment. Imagine wave after wave of teenagers. In the words of Matthew McConaughey from Dazed and Confused, I get older, they stay the same age, right? But wave after wave of senior class coming through, and 1 out of 6 of them allegedly is going to become a marijuana addict. Wouldn't the streets be teeming with marijuana addicts by now? When in actuality, if you look at the demographics of marijuana smoking, it is a bell curve that pops up between 15 and 18. It declines rapidly from 22 to 25 and then levels out from age 30 on. Why does that bubble not continue to travel through the demographics? Because most people that smoke pot only don't go on to use harder drugs. They don't go on to use marijuana very much. All right, what do we got here? Addiction rates among 12 to 17-year-olds are the highest levels nationally in the states that have medical marijuana programs. Well, addiction levels, we have to quibble about the definition there. We're talking about whether or not kids are using marijuana, not whether or not they're addicted to it. But am I surprised that more 12 to 17-year-olds use marijuana in medical marijuana states? Well, of course not. This is a chicken and the egg problem. It isn't the case that more people smoke pot in those states because of medical marijuana. It's because more people smoke pot in those states, they were sensible enough to pass medical marijuana laws, either because they know that it's going to be good for the sick people or just out of self-preservation to not be arrested. So of course there's more pot use in medical marijuana states. What we haven't seen is that the rates of use in the medical marijuana states rising and falling any differently than national rates. Now, this is a big one. You're going to hear this from all the drug warriors time and time again until we finally just beat it out of their heads. Marijuana use negatively impacts adolescent brain development. A recent study showed that those who used cannabis heavily in their teens and continued through adulthood showed a permanent drop in IQ of 8 points. A loss of 8 points could drop a person of average intelligence into the lowest third of the intelligence range. All right. Well, first of all, this study was so highly suspect, it was discredited within the first week it was put out. Another researcher by the name of Ole Rogeberg took a look at the same exact data and ran it through socioeconomic trends and found it was a more likely predictor if you were poor and didn't get great health care that you were going to have the IQ loss, poor and you didn't get great education and you're going to have the IQ loss, than whether or not someone was smoking pot. This whole thing about pot affecting people's brains or IQ loss, I got 2 words for you. Carl Sagan, man. Carl Sagan. So many intelligent people that are using marijuana because they're intelligent enough to recognize it's less harmful than getting drunk every night or doing other harmful drugs if they want to take a chance to relax here. We've got to just destroy this 8 IQ points. First of all, the study was just ridiculous. And second of all, even if it were true, so what? Do you know what the stats are on the IQ loss of people who binge drink? They're somewhat similar, if not worse. So don't give me this. Just start treating us equally. And if people want to pickle their brains, let them. It's not your job to throw them in jail for that. Now, this next point, and again, we're looking over this. This is in the Montana Standard. It's called Pot More Dangerous Than You Know. And they've got this one here that says, that medical marijuana could negatively impact employability. More than 6,000 companies nationwide and scores of industries and professions require a pre-employment drug test. So you shouldn't take this medicine because it might affect your ability to get a job because companies are allowed to discriminate against you. That's not an argument against medical marijuana. That's an argument against pre-employment drug testing. When are we going to get back to the idea of judging people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin? I mean, the content of their urine. It's the same idea here. We are prejudicially discriminating against good, law-abiding people merely because they choose marijuana over Marlboros or martinis. All right. States that have fully implemented medical marijuana programs to include dispensaries are experiencing public safety issues. Yeah, I know. I'm terrified. I'm sitting here at a medical marijuana outlet, and the fear of crime right now is overwhelming. I can hardly stop shaking because it's so dangerous here. Dude, driving up here, I wouldn't even known this was like, business park or something, man. These arguments, that's why I like doing these shows from these places and taking some video, because it just destroys all their notions of it's so bad and dangerous. We're just hanging out in a lounge. All right, let's see. The total overall cost of substance abuse in the U.S., including loss of productivity, health, and crime-related costs, exceeds $600 billion annually. This includes approximately $235 billion for alcohol, $193 billion for tobacco, and $181 billion for illicit drugs. Yes, because alcohol, tobacco, and illicit drugs are toxic and addictive. First of all, you're not going to give me any argument about loss of productivity for marijuana smokers when every company I've ever worked at allowed cigarette smokers a break every 2 hours for 15 minutes to go out and get their nicotine fix. I don't see that happening for weed anytime soon. I also know that most of the pot smokers I ever worked with arrived early and left late at most jobs, worked harder than most of the people there. Tired of that discrimination. And this idea, this is the Sabbath conjecture, that we can't possibly tax something because if we did, it's just going to cost more in public health. Well, guess what? Marijuana's already here. If there are any costs from it, we're paying them now. If there is any productivity loss, it's happening now. It's not like legalizing marijuana invents marijuana. It just takes it out of the shadows, that's all. So if we're already paying a cost and adding to that by spending money on prohibition, why not take that out of the equation, bring some tax money in, and maybe try and make a profit at this thing? Because I know plenty of people that make a profit on marijuana. It just doesn't go into the public good. It buys a new Xbox game. It puts rims on the car. It buys gold-plated AK-47s for Mexican terrorists. That's what illegal marijuana does. Let's end this. Let's get to legalizing marijuana, treating adults like adults. Here in Arizona, they're doing it. They dropped a legalization initiative. I know they're working hard on that. Support that at Smart Arizona if you can. I think that's their name. Safer Arizona. Safe, sensible, smarter, compassionate Arizona. Whatever they are. Safer Arizona. That's all the time we got here for Hour 1. Thanks for joining us here on the Russ Belville Show, live from Lax Lounge in Tempe, Arizona. Check them out on Facebook. Stay tuned for Hour 2. We're going to hang out, chat a little more. I'll get back to my Behind the Headlines on hemp. And for Brian the Red out there in Portland, Oregon, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.